Hey guys, Joe here. Recently we did videos on the all-purpose pack by Eagle Industries and the 14-liter day pack from London Bridge Trading. They're very similar bags with very similar use cases made by two very similar companies. And I figured if you're looking at one, you're probably looking at the other. And not everyone has time to watch my videos on both bags, so I figured I'd do a head-to-head comparison of the specs and features so that you can kind of tell which one is probably going to be for you. I think the differences do add up enough to the point where there will be a clear winner depending on what you plan to use the bag for and what are your must-have features. So we're going to start by talking about a few of the similarities, then primarily focus on the differences, and at the end of the video I'm going to kind of say which one I prefer and which one I think is the better value, just to kind of throw in my final 2 cents on these two packs. So let's get into it with the first big similarity, the fact that they are both made for similar purposes. They are both light-duty EDC. They were made with off-duty military members in mind, those going around base, going into town, the range, that kind of stuff, civilians taking them to work or to school. I look at these both as tactical JanSports, your old school book bags. They're really not meant for heavy abusive tasks. They're not for combat. They both make other bags for that purpose. They're not for bushcrafting and hardcore outdoors use, though you can use them both for light duty hiking. They're neither for apocalyptic events. So as long as you pack them appropriately and use them appropriately, they're both going to be great bags that'll last you a long time. But if you start abusing them, they might start to prematurely wear, because similarity number two, they're both made with 500D ballistic nylon. That is more than enough for 99.9% of people, except for those doing those more abusive tasks. And that's especially important because they both are only single-walled on the bottom, meaning if you're throwing them around and setting them down a lot on rocks and other abrasive material like concrete, it's probably going to start wearing holes in the bottom of the bag. The next big similarity, which I think is probably the most important one, is they're both made by very similar companies. Eagle Industries and London Bridge Trading are both U.S. government contractors. Now, why is this important? Well, in the United States, we have regulations informally known as the Berry Act and Berry Compliance. If you're making certain gear for the U.S. government, whether it be for three-letter agencies or more importantly, the branches of the military like these both do, it not only has to be assembled in the United States, but made of all U.S. materials. There's two big reasons for this. One, to support American business, and two, to protect the supply chain. You don't want to depend on another country for your equipment if you're in war, because maybe you go to war with that country. And so this allows them to be entirely self-sufficient while also supporting their fellow Americans. So I really do like the Berry standard. If you're someone who's all about made in USA, Berry is as close as you're going to get to a truly top to bottom American-made bag. Now, obviously, in the past with military contractors, we know they like to fudge the rules, loopholes, bribes to get around those regulations to not really be fully compliant. However, I trust both of these companies to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And in fact, London Bridge Trading was audited just a few years ago and found to be in full compliance with Berry. So I can definitely trust them, but Eagle is as reputable and respectable of a company. So I trust that they are both American made. And this is really important because of the last big similarity I want to talk about. They are both under $200. We'll revisit price later in the video, but getting all American bags from top to bottom, Berry compliance, for less than $200 in either case, that is really awesome. You just can't get that from normal companies, niche companies like Hill People Gear, Kifaru, Hidden Woodsman. They're giving you maybe similar bags in size, but not necessarily features for this price. Some of them are charging double that for these kind of bags. There's other companies like MIS California that, yeah, maybe have a cheaper American-made backpack by a little bit, but it's also half the size at only like 7 liters. It's a child's backpack. These are made for grown men. And so this is probably the best value if you're an adult looking for an all-American backpack. I really like that they are very compliant and are both below $200, meaning anyone can really save up for these. These aren't really your niche fashion type bags that are costing you $300, $400, $500. Really awesome. Now, that's where we start to get into the differences, starting with capacity or volume. The Eagle Industries bag is significantly larger than the LBT. And that is because it comes in at 18 tall, 10 wide, and 6 deep versus 18.5 tall, 10 wide, and 4.75 inches deep. So while this is just a smidge taller, the Eagle is significantly more in depth. And on top of that, if you can make out, I've got some clips here and there's these little tabs. This allows you to add bungee cord on the front of the bag, expanding its capacity because you can take things like, say, blankets, jackets, little pouches and stuff, and put them on the outside of the bag, making this probably closer to a 20-liter bag than an 18 versus 14.4 over here with the London Bridge Trading bag. So it is a little bit bigger. But moving to the face of the pack, bigger isn't necessarily better, because we look at these admin pockets, 2 big ones on the bottom, 2 smaller ones on the top. Despite being the smaller bag, the London Bridge Trading bag has the better, bigger pockets because of orientation. It's a little bit of a taller bag, and they're taking advantage of that vertical space. Whereas on the Eagle, they wanted to be able to access this main pocket if the bag was sideways, say you slung it around your body real quick. And so because of that, they're only taking advantage of their short dimension, their horizontal dimension. And they also have a lip on this pocket versus on this pocket. So this ends up being a much roomier pocket on the front, despite being on a much smaller bag. And because of the way they're oriented and it being just a little bit taller, it also has a much bigger top admin pocket as well. On the Eagle, I can really only fit my sunglasses case or a bag of Skittles. On this, I can fit several of those items on top of, again, having the much more space on the bottom as well. So it just has a better face on this bag. However, you're not going to be able to attach things externally because it doesn't have any type of bungee attachment points. Now, moving into the zippers. All the zippers on the London Bridge Trading are the same size except for this main zipper, whereas all the zippers entirely are the same size on this. They are using big zippers on the fronts, but only the Eagle is using a bigger zipper on the main body of the bag. I personally don't care about zipper size. I think they both work great. They're very smooth, no snags, really excellent zippers, probably even made by the same company if I had to guess. But some people care about having bigger zippers than smaller zippers. Now, one thing to note is the tabs on these are significantly different. The Eagle is using kind of a knotted cord with a Ranger band shrunk on it, whereas the London Bridge Trading is just using gutted paracord. So they have much better pulls on them than the London Bridge Trading has. Now, moving on to the side of the bag real quick before we get to the other major feature on the front. They both have water bottle pockets that are spandexy and whatnot, but these have a bungee cord attachment to cinch it down, whereas these are relying primarily on elastic. But because this is a much deeper bag, it can fit much bigger water bottles in terms of thickness versus the London Bridge Trading. I can technically get a 32-ounce Nalgene in either water bottle pocket, but once you start packing the bags up, it becomes a real hassle with both. When this is fully packed out, I really can't get the 32-ounce Nalgene in the pockets of the London Bridge Trading, but at least with the Eagle, I can kind of force that in. So for the LBT, I've been using these 20-ounce Camelbacks instead. They're significantly smaller, but they slip in and pretty much disappear. So it is worth noting they can both fit 32-ounce Nalgenes, but that doesn't mean you will be able to fit a 32-ounce Nalgene depending on how you pack out the bag. Now, the last thing before we switch it over, I want to focus on the morale patch area. This comes in a version with and without that Velcro. So if you want this bag but want it more plain, you can get that. Whereas with the Eagle Industries bag, you can't. It has to come with that smaller Velcro patch area, which is the next big difference. It's just sheerly the size of that Velcro. This can fit up to your plate carrier patches, your 5x3s, your 3-inch circulars, your obviously 2x3s, 3x2 rectangulars, as well as your 3.5 shields. However, your taller patches, maybe from like Prometheus Design Works that come in at 3.8, those are going to be a little bit too tall and might start to overlap to the point where they will bend as the bag flexes. So I wouldn't go any larger than 3.5 tall patches, but they can fit pretty much anything. If you're someone who likes to carry multiple patches or a bunch of Ranger eyes, this is really kind of going to be the clear winner because this only has a 3x2 patch area. You're only going to get a single standard size flag patch. Now, flipping the bags over, this is a huge difference between the two bags. That is going to be the back panel. When we look at the back panel of the LBT, that is very deeply grooved, and so it has a lot more airflow than what you're getting here with the Eagle Industries. Those may look like channels on camera, but those are just stitching points. And so there is no airflow at all on this bag. I recently went out in similar conditions doing moderate activity, both of these bags. When I came back, I was totally sweaty on my back from carrying this bag versus this bag. I was barely damp at all. I'm a sweatier guy, so that is something worth noting, but there's definitely a huge difference in airflow when you have these deep channels and really comfortable cushion versus just comfortable cushion. So if you're going to be using these in a hot weather environment or a humid environment, that right there might be your determining factor. I really wish they would upgrade these, and they probably will in the near future to have a better, more breathable back. Moving on to the top here in terms of grab bag handles, switching these back around. They both use a minimalist style handle, but the Eagle Industries is almost too minimalist. It's pretty much flat. There is no really protruding here, especially when the bag is fully packed. That makes it kind of difficult to just walk by, grab, and go. You really have to kind of dig into the bag to grab that handle and lift it. Versus on the London Bridge Trading, it has a minimalist type grab handle in that it fully disappears, as you can see there, but it's still hanging in the back. So you can walk by and grab it from behind and still walk off with the bag. Now, that could potentially create a hot spot because it does lay down in the neck area of the bag. So that is something you have to take note of. If you're someone potentially with a thicker neck, that might not be the best thing for you. But personally, I haven't noticed any irritation from that handle being there at all. I will continue testing it though and report back since this has not been reviewed just yet. Now getting into the shoulder straps, they are both very well padded, both comfortable straps, but I think that the LBT being more padded is actually a downside because they are both rocking that 500D ballistic nylon on the top of the strap. And when you have it being thicker on the London Bridge Trading, it's going to be more likely to rub up against your neck, creating friction burns or abrasion marks. So you really have to fit the bag better on the LBT, whereas you can be a little bit more lazy with the Eagle Industries because it's not protruding as much upward and potentially acting as a rub mark on your neck. I've had a little bit of trouble with this starting out, but now that I've got it sized correctly, it's no longer an issue, but it's something worth pointing out. Moving on down the straps, neither of them are water bladder compatible, but this does still have those little straps here for attaching a water bladder hose as well as the D-rings, whereas you don't have those on the Eagle Industries. They are both rocking daisy chain there, so you can attach knives and things like that, like I do. However, only the London Bridge Trading comes with a chest strap. And I do think for bags this size, a chest strap is nice and it does make a difference depending on what you're doing, how active you are, and how heavy you are packing the bag. I don't think you need waist straps on bags this size or stabilization straps, but you really should have the option to add these. And I really wish this one came with one instead of having to buy it on the secondary market. Moving on to that, a big make it or break it for some people is that the LBT has quick release buckles, whereas the Eagle does not. It's just not something that they are up to yet. This is an older generation bag. The next generations will probably have them, but we don't know when those are going to drop. Some people hate quick release buckles. Some people love them and require them on everything they own. So that right there is something worth taking attention to. Now, on the bottom of the bag, this has a drainage hole on it, which the Eagle does not. Some people hate this drainage hole as well. Because they're not water bladder compatible and they have water bottle pockets on the outside, there's no reason for any real liquids to be on the inside, so why is there a drainage hole? These aren't meant for combat or going out into the woods. Some people argue that the drainage hole is just a way to introduce moisture to the inside of the bag, so you put it down on something damp, it has a path to go up into the bag. So I personally haven't had any issues with that. Again, we're still testing this, but for some people that just might be an issue, and it's worth noting. Drainage hole versus no drainage hole, despite neither being water bladder compatible. Now moving into the inside of the bags, that is going to be another huge difference. It's going to be a make it or break it for some people. When it comes to the Eagle Industries bag, this is going to be hard to demonstrate because it's black on black, but there is a little kind of pouch here made out of high quality mesh. This isn't that standard stuff on old school bags that would tear apart. This is high quality stuff that will be very tear and puncture resistant. So it's very nice, and that pocket is the same size as the main pocket on the front. And on top of that, you have kind of a slip pocket in the back. It is not suspended, so it might not be great for laptops that are really important, but you can put a smaller laptop in here or books and stuff like that you want to separate from the main pocket of your bag. So there are at least some options on the inside of this bag for internal organization. Whereas on the London Bridge Trading bag, there is absolutely no options at all. On the old version of the LBT bag, they did have a laptop style pocket. On this one, they've removed all the internal organization and just given you a Velcro backing. That is a current trend in the tactical industry. That is not just LBT. They really want to strip out your internal organization so they can sell it back to you as accessories. Say a Velcro attachment like so, or to sell you MOLLE attachment panels that you can slip into your bags and whatnot. They really are trying to sell accessories in the tactical bag market now. I personally hate it. If you're gonna try to do modularity in a pack and you really want it to be more rigid and removable, I would rather go with a MOLLE panel than Velcro. But still, even then, you should be giving us some internal organization here. So that will be a problem for some folks. I'm not gonna go out and buy a bunch of Velcro pouches and stuff just for this bag. So overall, I think they're both great bags. They definitely got a lot of similarities in style and certain types of the layout. But the differences, like I said at the start of the video, do add up and are going to matter for a lot of people. Now, this is where we start to talk about which one I think is the better value. On standard retail, the LBT comes in at just under 180, whereas in the London Bridge Trading equivalent here, the Eagle Industries, this is coming in at only about 127, I think, to 145. So despite them being equivalent bags, they're very different in price. However, there are two very important factors to that. The London Bridge Trading here comes in tons of different colors, whereas the Eagle is only coming in a few. You've got multicam black, Ranger green, coyote, and I think one other really weird color, whereas this has pretty much all of your niche camo patterns under the sun, as well as a unique color pattern like I have here called mass gray. So you do have a lot more customization available with this higher price tag, and London Bridge Trading does sales on a regular basis, and their sale price whoops Eagle Industries' sale price on a regular basis. Despite this being a much more expensive bag, I got these both actually for almost the same price, and that was before the price hikes on these. I got this for just under $100. If I wanted to buy this again now on proper sale price, I'm looking at $116 to $120. So despite it starting out more expensive, this actually ends up being far less expensive if you can just wait. London Bridge Trading does a lot of sales all throughout the year, and they do specific sales on March Madness as well as Black Friday. So if you can wait for one of those two big sales, you can get this for far cheaper than any other American-made backpack on the market, whereas this is still going to cost you close to $120. And with the money you're saving, you could dump that extra money that you're keeping into accessories for the inside to make up for the fact that it doesn't have any internal organization. So because this can be had so much cheaper, I do think this is the better value, and it's the pack I personally prefer because it has that ability to be not only more affordable, but also much better in hot weather. I like that this is here. That's really kind of the make it or break it for me. I sweat more than some people probably, but having the air channels and the breathability has really made a difference for me, as well as the integrated chest strap and the fact I can just have more functional front pockets. It's a smaller bag, it's got some flaws, but I do think this is the better one for me. So let me know in the comment section which one is the better one for you. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll catch you in the next one. Doodles.